starts with Napoleon Bonaparte. You know, that guy, so in 1814, Norway was a part of Denmark, but because Denmark sided with Napoleon and Napoleon lost, they stripped the Norwegian territory away from Denmark. Denmark said, this is great, we're going to declare independence. We are now the free state of Norway. And Sweden said, yeah, wait a minute. So Norway then became a part of Sweden, a territory of Sweden. And so you had a bunch of very angry Norwegians. They had a few months of independence and then not. And they also had to deal with inheritance rules of the Swedish government, which meant that the oldest son got all of the land. So if you're a farmer and you got a big family, the oldest one got it. The second son, second daughter, the third son, third daughter, yeah, goes somewhere else. So 3 guesses where they went to.
United States.
Anyway, with that in hand, I'm going to play yet another Swedish tune. Applebo Gundelat.
The walking tune.
Yeah. So, during those 90 years that Norway was under Swedish rule, they went through this thing called Norwegian nationalism, where they were intent on proving that we're Norwegians, darn it, and we're not Swedes. We have our own distinct culture, apart from Sweden. So you had Henrik Ibsen, who went out and wrote plays and such, and he was like the Shakespeare of Norway. And then you had Edvard Grieg, the Chopin of Norway, great composer and pianist. And then you, of course, had Ole Bull. And Ole Bull was the Paganini of Norway. And everyone agreed, he was the best violinist in the world. And I'll get to him later. All right, with that down, let's try Svenska Anna. You guys probably danced to this if you danced. So I talked about Ole Bull. He was regarded as the greatest violinist, and I might also add the richest violinist in the world. And he went to Pennsylvania and purchased a whole bunch of land in 1850 and sort of intended it to be a new Norway. And they called it Oleana. And he may have been a good violinist, he was a bad land speculator. Because New Norway failed. The land wasn't suitable for farming and the railroads didn't go there. So if you couldn't get your goods in and your produce out, it was all for naught. So they had to go find some other place. So, and with that said, well, while they mull away on and think about Ole Bull and where the heck are they going to go? Where are those Norwegians going to go? So after Oleana failed, everybody went west, and as far as west as you could get was Minnesota Territory, which the 1850s, yeah. And so a lot of the Norwegians came here. Actually, Ole Bull came to Minnesota in 1857 and played concerts in St. Paul to raise money for the immigrants who left Oleana, and he felt kind of guilty about that. So he came here, and while he was out west, he ended up marrying the daughter of the Wisconsin senator. So she ended up writing his memoir. So if you're into reading books, Ole Bull. Yeah. It's full of bull. So after the American Civil War and after the Dakota War, the Norwegians and Swedes, they just flowed into Minnesota. The railroads eventually crossed the state. And they went actually all the way across the state. Well, there's a part of Minnesota called the Alexandria Moraine. You know, Minnesota is mostly flat, except for this part where one of the ice sheets kind of came and then stopped, and then the next one came over the top of it. So there's a part from like Detroit Lakes down to Wilmer where there's actually some hills in the middle of the prairie. That's where all the Norwegians went. Well, maybe not all of them. 33% of all Norwegians that immigrated to Minnesota, or immigrated to the United States, ended up in Minnesota. So, I mean, just because of the timing of when they all left from Scandinavia. So if you ever wonder why there were so many Sven and Ole jokes, it's because they all ended up here. You know, there were some in North Dakota and some in Wisconsin and some in Iowa, but the vast majority of them are kind of centered right here. And they got a statue, they put up a statue. Norway finally got its independence in 1905. And of course, they had to put up their Ole Bull statue. You can see it today. It's in Loring Park. They have a statue. It still stands today in downtown Minneapolis. So, next tune, Or Waltz from Or, Sweden. Another Swedish tune. Three guesses what they mine in Or. Oh, in Or, Sweden. Yeah, it was iron ore. So
This is why the houses are red. Can I know why they bust through your stories?
yeah, well, no, and then,
No,
and
that's
then
one
the-
reason the houses in Sweden are so red, is it was the pigment from the iron ore mines is what they made their red paint.
yeah, England got all their ore from Sweden, and the United States got all of its ore from Minnesota during the
Yes.
First World War.
Wow. Red barns.
Yeah. Red barns. Yeah.
So they say.
So, in 1898, a Norwegian-American farmer, Olaf Ullmann, was clearing his land near Kensington, Minnesota, and he pulled up this weird stone that had a bunch of markings on it. And they soon identified them as Norse runes. And when translated, the runes said that they implied that a party of Vikings had ventured to Kensington, Minnesota in 1362. And the authenticity of the stone has sort of gone back many times. It's still kind of highly debated. You know, Vikings in Minnesota. But it's still there. You can still see the runestone. Try and decide for yourself at the Runestone Museum in Alexandria, in the midst of the Alexandria Moraine. You can go see it.
It uses the steps to the granary or something?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it would be used that for the steps.
They found it. It's like, oh, this is a nice stone. They put it down, and it's like, there's writing on this.
Yeah.
They thought it was an Indian writing.
Sure.
And yeah. But if anybody,
That's just what they look like.
yeah. So if you ever been this, everyone said no, this is all fake. And then in 1960, there was an archaeological dig in Newfoundland, and they found that, hey, there was a Viking settlement here because there's bronze, and it was like, you know, those Vinland sagas that this old Ullmann was talking about. You know, it's like, yeah, maybe, is that Vinland? Is this Vinland? So, all right. So just for that, we're finally going to play an actual Norwegian.
Building up the suspense.
Yeah, exactly. We're building up to it.
What are they gonna give us our independence?
So I go back to Sweden again. So there's a guy named Ivar Anderson who immigrated to Minnesota in 1923, worked as a woodcutter, lumberman, up in northern Minnesota. In 1925, he moved to Chicago, and he started an ice business. And one of the businesses he sold ice to was a speakeasy, which was hidden behind a candy store. And he got into a situation where he was encouraged, because he was a musician, he was encouraged to play some Swedish tunes for the boss. So he said, sure, yeah. The boss came over, and the boss turned out to be this guy. So, and after hearing a few of Ivar's tunes, he picked one that he said, yeah, I really like this tune. I want you to play this every time I come here. And shortly after that, Ivar moved back to Sweden. And he became a very well-known musician, very famous. In the 1960s, he was interviewed by Magnus Gustafsson on a radio program, and he told this story about, yeah, played the tune for Al Capone, and I played this waltz for him. And Magnus actually came here and taught fiddle lessons up in Niswastammen, and that story came with him, and it's become very popular since the 1970s. It's Ulveboda Valsen from Ulveboda, Sweden, but we all know it as Al Capone's waltz.
And you will like it.
Or else, we got a Valentine for you.
Who don't know?
Yeah, I like that. Really good, yeah. It's one of my favorites, all the time.
That's nice too.
Huh?
That's great too.
Yeah. Especially when the boss says. Especially when the boss says. So a lot of the Scandinavian musicians that came to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Dakotas, but centered in Minnesota, they didn't necessarily read music. And they learned by ear, and they memorized, and they often misremembered the tunes. And sometimes they sort of added their own little quirks to them that they liked, made it their own. And this was the age before the tape recorders, so it became a game of telephone. And so the tunes came over from Europe, and after a few generations, they sounded somewhat different, and more than likely had a new name because, well, I heard it from this guy, who heard it from that guy, who heard it from this guy. And so this tune we're going to do is actually a fellow by the name of Leonard Finseth. Went around and collected. He collected a lot of tunes, recorded them, played them, and this is one of them. This is Ingevald Saverson's. He picked this one up from Ingevald Saverson. And
part of the state was Leonard in?
He is from Moldova, Wisconsin, which is just a few miles from Red Wing. So if you go down to Red Wing and you cross the border and you go like 10, 15, 20 miles.
Into Wisconsin.
Into Wisconsin.
Okay.
That's where he was. So a lot of the music that he has is kind of southeastern Minnesota as well as western Wisconsin.
I like the wallpaper on the house.
Yeah.
So realistic.
Does that image look vaguely familiar to a T-shirt that you might wear?
Yeah. That's my role model.
Yeah. So I
do have the pantsuits, but
we have a friend who does silk or printing.
That's where that's from.
That's where that's from. Is that photograph? So the next tune is supposedly named "Hooray for Mary, for She Is Good" by Art Bjorkfeld, or they got it from Art Bjorkfeld. But somebody told us its true name is Corvo Polka. Eric, the other Eric. Yeah. Okay, he was
Mandolin Eric.
Mandolin Eric.
Mandolin Eric.
Who plays Finnish tunes and really wants to play more Finnish tunes because he likes the minor keys and they sound so cool.
And he plays in a Finnish band.
And he plays in a Finnish band.
You know those people.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of which,
yes.
St. Urho's Day
Yes.
I'm gonna put a plug for St. Urho's Day, which is March 16th. It's one day before he is the patron saint of Finnish vineyard workers.
Oh.
And they celebrate him one day before the Irish have some celebration, something about
Not
snakes.
there.
I don't know, some island and there's snakes and those people. At any rate,
Catholics versus the Lutherans once more.
well, in this case, it's an excuse for the Finns to drink all the whiskey one day before the Irish.
Yeah.
And I will say, look it up. St. Urho was created right here in Minnesota in 1954 because
No, sorry.
grapes do not grow in
Well, it was
Finland.
in the I didn't want to say anything, but I didn't think this is a good story.
This is a Finnish story.
Oh, I think where's the grapes in Finland?
No.
Okay.
But he supposedly drove the grasshoppers out of the vineyards by saying, Heine Sirka, Menetal Tahiti, which we all know means, grasshopper, go away.
Oh, that's
So, but this is a Finnish tune supposedly, and it's not in a minor key.
No, it's great.
And for some odd reason, it's really happy.
So we hold all your attention pretty good here? Huh? Super.
Good. I'm not talking too much. I do, sons.
Oh.
What?
No, dear, you're fine. I'm fine, don't worry, it's fine. Fine.
You're fine. See, playing fiddle was kind of a guy thing. There were not very many. There were very few women that played violin back in the 1800s. It may have had something to do with
They all play piano.
lack of rural electrification and lack of water pumps at the time. More about that later. Women musicians did exist though. For example, there's the Swedish pipers Anna Larsson and Britta Skifström. There was Iva Andrus Dingwall, who eventually taught piano, but she wrote a number of articles for the Minnesota Historical Society about her father, DeWitt Andrus, who was a dance fiddler in Elk River, Minnesota in the 1880s. That's Iva Andrus, who married Mr. Dingwall and became Iva Dingwall. And then there was Irene Widmark. She was the granddaughter of the fiddler up in northern Minnesota, August Widmark, and she ended up playing accordion in a dance band in Bagley, Minnesota during the Depression. Renee Vaughn is working on getting her music sorted out because she would take fiddle tunes and these fiddle tunes from her family and work them into a band with an accordion. So, funny thing about those accordions. Yeah,
So versatile.
Yeah, it's exactly what it's going to say.
You can drop kick him, you can throw him, you can fry him, you can burn him.
And yet they still keep showing up.
They don't bounce. They try that.
At any rate, we're going to do one by Viola Keldal Lee. She was the granddaughter of Ole Keldal, a very well-known fiddle player, and she would take her grandfather's tunes, and in this case, it's her blind piano tuner. We're doing the piano tuner's polka.
Super.
So that's Viola Lee, and this is. I said mostly didn't play fiddle, but there was Randy Easterson, also.
Thank you, coming.
Yeah, thank you. Randy Easterson Severson, born in 1877, died in 1959. And she was kind of the exception to women didn't play fiddles, at least in this area. So she was born in Elva, Wisconsin, also not far from Red Wing. She ended up marrying got Sam Severson and moved to Eau Claire in 1903. They raised a family of 6. Randy continued to fiddle for house parties and dances throughout the region, and at 75 years old, Randy played violin for her golden anniversary. And there's a lot of guys that really like playing, a lot of people
Is that her second husband?
I think that's like their son.
Their son.
Yeah. I mean, golden anniversary.
He's a fiddler,
You don't, yeah. Something about deals with the devil, I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh, Paganini, yeah.
yeah, but who made it, him or her? All right, there we go.
One thing I didn't mention was a lot of the radio stations played a lot of this music between the 1940s and the 1970s, a lot of the smaller stations. So you had KWLM in Wilmer, that Oliver Sagadol had a radio program there. There were a few fiddlers that would play on that one actually. Little Joe Stamnus and Selma Ramsey, really big names. They had programs at WDAY in Fargo Moorhead, and Einar and Otto Brand had fiddle programs on WKTY in La Crosse, La Crescent. So, you know, you would tune in and you know, there was some other ones, I couldn't find the image for it, but there was another big program that played fiddle music up in Duluth. There was a well-known Anderson, I think was his name. The list goes on and on. These were all predecessors for the Prairie Home Companion, which ran 1974 through 2016. And they were the very kind of outlets for this kind of waltz right here that we've got next. Yeah, there we go. I know where we're going next. So there we are, powder milk biscuit.
There you go.
You know that it's fresh because of the stains on the bag. Down there. Oh man, we started this with Denmark.
Finished with Denmark.
We did with that. And whoop.
That's a dang good way to end the
That's
show.
a dang good way. And gosh darn it.
So they're in Norway, huh? Or vice versa.
Uh,
There's your left-handed guy.
He's a left-handed guy.
And plays left-handed.
Dwight. Dwight Lamb. This song is from him. He was a fiddler and a button box player. That probably is why he ended up being left-handed.
He's got the 2x4.
Huh?
He's got the 2x4 on the ground so the chair legs don't sink. See, now that's real farmer stuff.
Yeah.
He's got a 2x4.
Distribute that weight. Yep.
Otherwise you'd be sinking down into the soft dirt and Oh, that's a bench. Never mind. I was wrong.
Yeah. I wish I'd colorized that picture. Colorization.
It could happen.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah. Tomorrow I will wed, but who shall that be?